how did you know to take so much CE? What was inside your mind where you're like, okay, I tried hard in dental school. I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I didn't get into a GPR. I go join my dad, but it's pretty impressive that you thought as a young person, no Facebook groups, no, that you said, I got to take CE. What was that like motivating factor?
Well, the motivating factor was I was not used to being last or at the bottom end of things, period, in my life. I was class president in high school. I know it's not a big thing, but as I was a star at undergraduate school. So feeling like I was quite honestly a loser, practicing in my like almost, why didn't I just live in my dad's basement when that just completed the whole thing? I had to improve myself. It was analogous to being overweight and you were
Yeah, I like
tired
that.
of being
Tell me
over.
this, and I literally got this last night from a amazing new grad, Lincoln Harris, who credits you as a mentor, and just as I do. Ripe Global is amazing, an awesome sponsor. And I said, you didn't do a GPR. He has a family. You should do Ripe Global. He goes, okay, Paul, I'll call them. And then he said, I don't know if it's going to be good for me. I said, here's a video of Dr. Nathan Adias, who did Ripe Global, and it shows him how it transformed his life. He can work faster. He can see more emergencies.
Yeah.
He can get home on time to his family. He goes, that's good, Paul, but I'd still like to talk to the instructors about what they do at Ripe Global. And I'm not in any way criticizing this dentist. I'm trying to help them. You're back in the 1980s. How did you know what to take? Did you just take a chance? Did you
I'm
say,
gonna.
hey,
You should be recording this and just
we
edit what
are?
you. Okay, because this is such good questions. Yeah, I didn't know in the beginning. I took courses on random things. I remember taking a forensic dentistry course. I remember taking pediatric courses, whatever was available, and there wasn't much in 1980. And then what happened is I stumbled across some early restorative CE courses. When I say early restorative, you got to understand they're very different than they are today. Some old guy would get up
Yeah.
and he would show that he was a dentist. I mean, this happened in Boston of Ted Williams, the famous baseball player.
Yeah.
You'd be mesmerized at that, just at that fact that, oh my, and it was never about this is how you do it at that point. Here's what happened. And in like 1984, 4 years after, Penn offered the first continuum I'd ever heard of. It was a 3-year program, and you had it. There was two of them on implants and perio. Well, for me in 1984, implants were like, oh, that'll never last.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the perio one, and it was a once a month course. It's only an hour from my practice and where I lived in New Jersey, and because I lived there close, there was about 35 doctors from around the United States, and you could bring a patient to do procedures on. Can you imagine this?
Yeah. It's great.
Right? And
True
my
pioneers.
right, and my your teachers are Walter Cohen
Yeah.
and Jay Siebert, and anybody that would look up in Google, these guys were legends.
I just want to interject because I think it's very, what I always share is, and you always show up. I'm going to explain because I was part of the Alpha Omega group in dental school a little bit. I joined. Mark Rothman is a mentor of mine. Hopefully he sees this. And he said, Paul, come to the AO events. Okay. You live in Center City. Come to the AO events. This is 2005, Steve, 2007. Come. And I say, you know what? My mentor says, come. I'm going to come. I don't ask questions. I just show up. He goes, I want you to pick someone up and drive them there because he can't drive anymore. And it was D. Walter Cohen. And I got to drive D. Walter Cohen back and forth from Center City, Philadelphia to Temple 6 times at least. And it was an amazing experience.
Oh
First of
my
all, he was
God.
sharp as could be in his 80s.
Yeah.
Second of all, I learned from him. So I hope some young dentist is listening saying, hey guys, when I was your age, I showed up too. When my mentor said, this is a good idea, I didn't say, will I get the ROI? Will I do it? I just said, yep, sounds like a good idea. And when you do that, magic will happen. So go back to the 80s with D. Walter
So
and Jay
it
Siebert.
became electric. I mean, I couldn't believe it was the first time I remember feeling like my skills were actually changing. Like I know how to do stuff. I knew how to do for the first time a free gingival graft. I knew how to do crown lengthening. I knew how to do because I was doing these procedures with a live patient once a month. But by the way, they took down the course, and I understand it. I always wondered, why are they doing this? aren't the periodontists in Philadelphia getting like pissed off at everybody? And they did. And so
Yeah.
by the time they ended the course, which was the third year, it was like being in dental school, Paul. Like it
Yeah.
was didactic and then a lecture.
That's what you need. I mean, in some ways, I feel like Link and Ripe Global is doing that. I was very close with Dan Casulo, passed away a few years ago, and he was part of that whole group. And, he was younger than those guys at the time. And he would tell me, they were just trying to make general practitioners as best as they could make them, right? I mean, it was like,
Right.
hey, let's make these general dentists really good, right? And, that whole Mort Amsterdam, D. Walter Cohen, Seabird, Dan
Yep.
Casulo, that was magical. Now, if there was a dental student listening right now
Yeah.
saying, I'm in debt, like talk to the dental student I'm talking to. Wife and kids, wants to be the best dentist he could be.
Right.
I put Ripe Global in front of him. I showed him a testimonial of
Right.
someone just like him, but he's still not there. I say, just take stuff and stuff's going to work out great. Stuff's not going to work out so great, and just focus on the stuff that works out great. But how would you help someone like that move from analysis paralysis to I'm going to go do it?
I'd say this to the doctor, and I so get you. It's you know why? Because what we chose to do, being a dentist, I mean, guys like Paul and myself, and are real happy and fulfilled and all that stuff. We didn't. We had a lot of struggles. Also, we just
Yeah.
not. That's not where we're at right now because we committed. You can't be half in, is what I was going to tell you. You got to
Yeah.
jump for it. Listen, why wouldn't you jump for it? Go for it. You already invested a minimum
Yeah.
of 8 to 9 years of education in
Three to
it.
$500,000.
But
And
why wouldn't you take a chance? I always tell them if you have the discipline, which I did not, Paul, when you get out of dental school, everybody wants to loan you money, meaning the banks. Like you're not gonna get anybody to loan you money to have a nice car or a
yeah.
house when you're in dental school. But the minute you have a doctorate degree, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And I say, don't go for that. Try to be disciplined, live nice, but don't go crazy your first 10 years, except for one area, CE. Go
Yeah.
all out with CE. And I mean, you know, virtual CD. Well, Link's got an unusual, he's an outlier. It's amazing online CE, but you got to do some live CE. And I'm going to
Well,
tell
it's
you what,
it's a combination. I want you to keep going, but just like exercise, it's a combination of working out by yourself, working in a group. So, do hands-on, do online. And what I share and what I talk about Link stuff and yours too is when you said it makes you feel better when you walk into your practice. And what's better than that, right? It makes you feel better about what you do for patients, what you do for your team.
I would
And
say
what
this
is
to
better than that?
you remember this going forward. If you take that leap, what I used to do is I made education as part of my existence, like you would make paying the rent or paying, it was
Yeah.
not even a question. Like I'd sit down, I remember doing it. I would sit down in August and I'd sit down in December. And because that's when Paul, I remember like I'm talking, this is a great story for me, a great moment, because I forgot all these things. And I would keep a folder because back then it was all hard mail that we would get.
Yeah.
I would keep every single folder course that was solicited to me. I wouldn't even I'd review them a little bit. And then come in September, I would look over and say, what is it I need to take? What do I want to take? And I didn't always hit on things. I wasted several days, I'm sure. I don't think I ever took a continuum that I regretted. And so here's the other thing. When you start doing both, when you take online stuff, which we didn't have the advantage of doing, and you start taking live stuff, you will meet people that make you
Yes.
feel better about what you're doing. And they'll turn you on to what they're doing. And that you would never had that experience had you not done that.
And the stuff outside the lecture room, like, I was like, hey, Steve, come to this event in Philadelphia and sit at this lunchroom. And you sat next to Elijah Desmond and it changed your life. But it
Yes.
wouldn't happen if you didn't show up. So like, don't judge so much. Don't analyze. Just show up. Of course, in this kind of scenario, because we get this on video, Link's course is like a $20,000 2-year continuum. So it's a very important to research it and know if it fits into your life and things. So this young dentist think this, they're doing the right thing. When there's a course in your town on how to be a better case acceptance, show up and talk to people. And maybe it's great, maybe it's not. I mean, you're never going to know. I mean, one of the things I'll share is what makes us good at treatment planning is a problem for professional development. Because when we treatment plan a patient, we want to be predictable. We want it to work out. When you do all this business and growth stuff, you go to stuff that you might not go to again, but you would never get the good if you didn't test it out. That's kind of my attitude on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So I want to shift gears, Steve.
Yeah.
Tell me this. So before we get into, or your course, how does a fee-for-service dentist survive and then thrive in an area that's economically challenging? Your story, fee-for-service dentistry in a challenging to even more than challenging economic environment. Start with that for us.
Okay. Well, to be fair to that question, I got to be very clear. I wasn't always fee for
Oh,
service.
gotcha. Okay, cool.
Okay. And so I want to be fair to the guys out there that aren't. And I want you to feel bad about it because I was, taking insurance for years and years. Here's how it happened. I mean this, I know I've already talked about CE, but it does change you. Not only does it change your skill set, it changes your desire of who's going to be practicing as part of your team. So you want and need a better assistant. You want a hygienist that's not a clock puncher that is also passionate. There's people in life passionate about everything. There's people that go into hotel rooms and are passionate about cleaning the hotel room and folding the toilet paper properly. I mean it in everything we do. Well, there's people in dentistry that just go through the motions. It could be the dentist, it could be the doctor that hired you and you're the associate. It can also be hygienists. It can also be assistants. So the first thing that happened is my bar was a lot higher. I needed better personnel, every one of them. And some of them were fine. The people that were already on board, they improved their skills too, because they loved the vibe I was putting off.
Yeah.
Taking all the CE. And so we changed as an organization and I was loving it. It's pretty cool to watch a plant grow. Pretty cool to watch your culture actually develop right in front of your eyes. And I went full throttle and we had a lot of staff meetings to make this all happen, by the way. It doesn't happen in a morning meeting. And so it was palpable to the community. We were different. I'm telling you it was. And that's not only our dentistry. I'm a big believer, I'm not sure where this came from, in being part of the community. So we did endless community events and maybe would really didn't matter to me whether they became patients. I wanted our name to be synonymous with good things in Cumberland County, New Jersey. So I'm telling
I want to interject, Steve. You're saying, so my dad, who I worked with for 11 years before he passed away, amazing dad, amazing mentor. He would never say that, oh, he knew how to market the best or do things like that. It just wasn't his style. But he coached sports teams and they said, oh, that's Dr. Goodman coaching sports. What does he do? And he didn't coach the sports teams with an agenda to get more patients, but he knew he loved coaching sports anyway, but he knew if you do things like that, people ask, because this is the 1980s. There's no internet, right? But what's mind-boggling to me is I will talk to a practice owner and say, what's your practice Instagram account like? And they go, I don't have one. And I go, are you Nacho nuts? The Instagram account is the new online community. Get a table at an event in your town and be on Instagram, right? Have a Facebook page, because in my town, I mean, there's a 10,000 member. I mean, I don't know if this is a well-kept secret. In towns that have Facebook pages and they talk about plumbers, dentists, accountants, and all those things. And whenever someone says a dentist, they mention people in our town. Sometimes they mention us. This brand awareness in your small community is so valuable from in person and online. And you're basically saying that when patients came to your practice, was it the word of mouth referrals that, hey, the Rasner group is different? Were they starting sending people? That's what I think all dentists want, but you have to walk the walk to be able to get it. How did you guys do that?
Well, the short answer is everything counts. I mean, you can't just be, a panky, amazing clinician and you didn't put any investment in how people are greeted when they walk in or how they answer telephone. It all matters. How your hygienist, people can feel that you're totally into what you do. And my team was totally into what we're doing. And, there's a saying I always used to put out on my slides when I presented called leap and the net will appear. and what that always meant to me and what it might mean to a young person on Nachos is you haven't taken the leap yet, really. The first leap would be CE. The second leap would be turning what you learn into action in your practice and having the guts to do it. Because it is challenging. We're out of the office and we're learning new stuff. It's very different. It's a low level of different energy to bring that back and motivate your team, what you learned, because they weren't there, most of them.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a really important point. And I just laugh because it's happened to me. You go and you get this enthusiasm for doing this thing, and then
Yes.
your team comes back and it just hears, I got to change stuff. And actually, I mean, you don't whiff them, right? Whiff them is what's in it for me. And I've had those problems, right? You go in, as my grandmother would say, gangbusters, right? And you say, hey, I went to the Rasner course. This happened. I'm going to do, I mean, it was actually your course. When I brought you to speak in Philadelphia, I wanted to use the text message platform by the person who brought you, right? Lori.
Yeah.
And I said to my team, you're not going to believe it. We can text our patients to confirm their appointments, right? And all my team looked at was, you know what they said to me, Steve? Your team will do this thing. They go, everybody wants to hear our voice. I go, well, that's a lie, everyone, right? No one wants to hear your voice. But I said, let's test it out. And I got
Yeah.
a lot of pushback. But then once we started using the text message thing, and we'd have 46 appointments and 39 were green. And I go, call those 7 people. They go, I don't like to call anyone anymore. So it's just a humorous story on, as a leader, you have to be on the leading
Yeah.
edge of change, but figuring out how to get your team bought in, because there's times where I've missed the mark, right? I've said, let's do this fun new thing, and I didn't explain what was in it for them.
Well, you ask, how do we get there? There's so many little nuances of going through a career that people that have been through it can maybe make the journey easier for you. And one of them was,
Yeah.
that happened to me several times. Exactly what you just said. I came back. I mean, I went out to Frank Spear and John Coy's office, Paul. I know it's clinical, but I went out there 19 different times. So on a flight from Philadelphia to Seattle, Washington, 19 times in a span of about 4 years. And I would come home on that plane. It's a long flight, it's 5 hours. And I'd be all pumped up and stuff. And I'd go to the morning meeting, which was, 15 minutes, as we all know, and blah, 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 blah. And by Wednesday, it was gone. Whatever I
Yeah.
said, it was gone. And maybe some of that stuff was things I heard from another up and coming clinician that was at the course.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with clinical. It was just about his team. So after a while, it was hard to do this. This is the nuance I'm telling you about. I would schedule an hour to open up a Monday morning on what I learned, even before I learned it, and how it impacts our office going forward today.
Yeah. I love that.
Hour.
It's the what's in it for me. I mean, this conversation is so great. I mean, Dr. Todd Fleischman is one of my close friends, fee-for-service dentist in Philadelphia. Humble and amazing. How did he get his practice, Steve Rasner? Because where was the study club in Philadelphia run by one of my mentors, Stephen Brown? Todd showed up. He was the youngest guy there. He probably didn't have the money, but he said, I'm going to go and check it out. And when a dentist in that community needed to sell their practice for a medical reason, Stephen Brown said, you should talk to Todd Fleischman. And he now took over a very well-running fee-for-service practice and grew it. So many people say, I want to be like Todd Fleischman. I want to be like him. Todd Fleischman's invested 6 figures into his Coyce and Spear training, literally,
Right.
but figuratively, he's come back and implemented it, right? And that's what you're saying. You
Yep.
have to invest literally, but maybe the other part of the investment, the non-monetary part,
Right.
implementing it with your team, is so much harder than paying for a course.
It is. It's so hard for everybody. And I get it, to put a drill down, block out productive time that would have brought you income, and use that time to talk about
Yeah.
things. That's hard to do. It is. You look on your schedule and maybe you had an off month the month.
But what's
That's
crazy to me, Steve, is every time dentists do that, we're our own worst enemy. Every time we do it, we're glad we did it.
yeah.
Like I did a Monday course with Jason Smithson in November of 2023. Everybody's yiking, my grandmother's term for complaining. A Monday, I'm going to miss it. They come to that course, they go, this was wonderful to have a Monday off. They're drinking a glass of wine, they're learning from a master. So after a course, block out the Monday to talk about it. You'll be so glad that you did. And
You
I
will
hope
meet.
some.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, I was just ranting that take the time that's non-patient hours to train your team to implement the things that you learned. And I have missed the mark on that. And it sounds like you have too, but now you don't miss the mark. and you make sure your team knows.
You will, I said, this I can say with great conviction. You will never meet a dentist that's ultra successful. What's ultra successful? You know what it is to me? It's having a practice that allows you to take off when you want to take off and work when you want to work because you can afford to. I don't care whether you gross 1 million. I don't care whether you gross 500,000. Your lifestyle allows you to take off a week or two because you want to go camping or hiking.
Well, I think where I was jotting, I always take these notes, know what you're saying. It's the F word, right? Success is based on the F word, not finances, flexibility. When you have the flexibility to do what you want, that's success. And there are many dentists listening to this right now saying, I don't have the flexibility and I may make 7 figures a year. I don't have the flexibility and I'm struggling to make payroll. So I think what you said, because I'm going to lay up a question for you to share where you guys like flexibility is the true measure of success. It really is.
Absolutely
Because dentistry is a great career. I go, oh, cool. Come to my course on a Friday. They go, I can't take off on a Friday. My team will get mad. I go, well, it doesn't sound like you have a great job there, right? Like you're the boss and you can't take off on a Friday. They go, no, my assistant would be mad. I go, what has happened in your journey that you can't create flexibility? So I love that you shared that. I want to say this next, Steve. So I'd like to take a minute to brag about myself. Some people think of me as a nice guy, but I would like to show my giant ego. I am really, 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 really good at shooting 3-point shots. Very good. Now, when I say that, people are immediately going to say, how do I know this guy's good, right? How do I know this guy's good? In high school in 1994, I made 43 3-point shots in 16 games, second in the conference, okay? To this day, at the age of 46 years old, I can shoot NBA length threes and make them. I can teach other people how to shoot a 3-point shot. I am qualified, not Steph Curry, not LeBron James, but I am qualified to teach your 12-year-old how to shoot better 3-point shots. Yeah. Then if they do want to play college basketball, they should get a coach better than me. But I will share with you through video, proving it, and technique that I can teach you to do that.
I might take that course. Go ahead.
In your practice, because you should be proud of yourself, in your solo general dentistry peak, what was your practice collecting?
5.5 million.
And tell us more about that awesomeness. When some dentists are going to lean forward and say, I want to hear more. Some are going to say, no way, I believe that guy. Well, I'm not asking you.
Here's a better statistic than 5.5. Because if you got to know me, I'm very sensitive to bullshit. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you could say it. PG show.
I'm very sensitive to that. And, you know, I see people out there, and I'm sure many are qualified. I'm sure many are not qualified to help you. And it's a lot of money. It's a lot of time and money for you to take off with the promise that somebody will make you better. I had 29 years in a row from 1980 to 2009. Every single year was a better year than the year before.
Wow.
It's almost 3 decades. I increased productivity and I increased profit for 29. I don't know if you remember, but 2009 was when we had it was the end of the recession.
Yeah.
It was a real bad. I remember telling everybody I was recession proof because there was 4 recessions from 1980 to 2009, and I beat them all until the 2009 one got me for 20%. It did. But imagine that for a minute. Imagine right now if I could say, if I share with you the principles that I use that are absolutely the ones I'm still using in 2024, if I could share that with you, and I can't guarantee you, but for me, it would take you from 2024 to 2040. I don't know, I can't do the math, 30 to 2073. And imagine that right now to 2073, every year could be possibly better than the year before. And it's not because I work more. That's quite the opposite. I work less. I went from 5.5 days to 5.
So I want to dig into this. I love this concept. And that's what we're trying to help dentists do. Make better decisions. Your better decision might be cutting a day off and making the same amount of money, not even making more. Your better decision might be growing so you can have an associate. Your better decision might be, hey, I've been taking 14 spoiled guac PPOs and I want to take 7 spoiled guac PPOs.
Right.
But Stephen Curry is known for being the fastest 3-point shooter in the history of the game. They have broken down his shot. And from when he gets the ball to when he shoots it, It is faster than anyone. And that's how he gets those shots off at 6'4" in front of guys who are 7 feet tall. I know dentists don't like to compliment themselves, but when you're doing 4 million as a solo GP, okay?
Right.
What is the components of that just in general terms? If someone's listening, you didn't do a full mouth rehab on every single patient and said, I
Absolutely
don't
not.
do a filling, right? Just break down some of these components to your
Okay.
life. When you
So
bring yourself 2003, I'm doing 4 million, I'm growing. Just tell us the story a little.
the way it happened is really honestly the number one thing that would fuel anybody, right, is case acceptance.
Yeah.
So I had extraordinary, imagine now, I'm in Cumberland County, New Jersey, which you have your other challenges when you're in a suburb of New York City, Atlanta, Chicago. You have a lot more dentists, more competition. I had less, but I was fee for service, and I was clearly on the high level of fees that we get. So that was making it harder for me, right? Everybody that came to
Yeah.
my office was simply going to be paying more because I was out of network. Well, you know, how that happened and how that worked for a long period of time, sorry to say it again, was everything counts. So how did I get high case acceptance? It started with how I branded. So how did I market? And, quick caveat, I market for people, fearful patients, patients that
Yeah.
were focused. It's not 100% of my practice, but it attracted a large portion. So next step, they call up my office, and immediately, if any of you called my office, I'm pretty sure you would say, hey, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
The people who are involved weren't putting you on hold. It was a pretty fluid, positive experience for you.
I'm going to
Bam.
interject with one thing. Keep your thought for you and your wife. So I want to deliver joy. If you've
Yeah, yeah.
never seen this comedian, go on Netflix tonight and watch Sebastian Maniscalco, because Sebastian Maniscalco is one of the funniest human beings ever put on earth. But one of his bits, which is hilarious, and I'm just going to tell you the words, is
Yeah.
he goes, when you show up to fly, it often seems like the people are annoyed you brought luggage. It often seems like they're annoyed to see you, right? I mean, you watch, go
That's
to Sebastian
true.
Maniscalco, and
It's
that's
true.
what dental offices do to patients,
Yeah.
because the front desk team member usually feels under attack. And someone goes, I'd like to be a new patient, say, please hold. So go back to your story and how that
Yeah.
transformative that
Well, I'm
is.
so glad you said it because I was trying to, like, the motor vehicle office is
Yeah.
everybody's same thing as Sebastian was saying with the airline industry. And I was very sensitive and very good at communicating to the people that work for me how I wanted it to sound. I mean, yesterday, Paul, yesterday,
Yeah.
2024, I called my office for something because I was off. Somebody answers the phone and they didn't say their name. And they're new to me and they're very, very good at everything.
Yeah.
Like, I love this new person. But I called and I said, um, gently, hey, be sure to give your name.
Yeah.
Because you know I was on the phone. I want you to say, it's Jessica speaking. Okay. Not,
Yeah.
hi, at Dr. Az's office. That everybody does that. I want them to feel a connection with whoever has that phone. So something as little as that, all the way.
I want to tell you something. I love this conversation. I have time to chat more. So recently for Dentist Job Connect, I have decided to help my team. So in Disney World, Steve, I don't know if this is true now, they used to make every employee dress up like a character in the Magic Kingdom one day a year. So you
Okay.
could be the VP just to feel what it's like to be in the Magic Kingdom. I'm friends with someone who says, I answer the phone for my company for sales. So I said, you know what? I'm on vacation. I'm going to make some sales calls for Dentist Job Connect. And I called offices that had associate positions listed on Indeed. And I
Okay.
said, hi, my name is Dr. Paul Goodman. I'm a dentist just like you, but I'm calling because I see you guys need an associate. I have created a platform to help you hire this associate. I would love to connect with the person in charge of hiring when they have time. Okay. That was my script, right? Friendly this. I got the whole gamut back from people annoyed with me, and that dentist would be mad. But when some magic happened, like somebody was amazing named Susie, I said, I want to stop you, Susie. Your dentist should be proud of what you're doing. Whoever trained you, I make these calls all the time. And I want to tell people, get more Susies, because some of these dental offices were pathetic in how they made me feel as someone calling their office.
I hear you loud and clear. I mean, so I'm telling you the process because you asked me, how did I
Yeah.
become a fee for service? How did I do it for so long? I think we all, I mean, I don't know if you want to hear this, but we all worked harder and I was very vigilant with my eyes and my ears And it's still, even to this day, somebody drops the ball, like we just talked about Jessica, not saying Jessica. I care enough to point that out.
Yeah.
I could be burned out and I could just let it go and I could let other things go. Like, I swear to you, this is me. Maybe your Nacho groups won't love this. I'm walking from my private office. I take a corner to go back to the clinic area, and I walk past the door between to get into the office and the reception area where you sit. And it's glass, and I see spots on it. And as I'm walking past, I just say out loud, I need somebody to take care of the glass. Okay. Because I care about every little thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even think that's anal. I think it's wanting this dress or this suit to look a certain way on this person that's buying this. I care about everything. And so
Your ABCs always be consistent. I want to share, and I know you've been there. Last night, I said to my 10-year-old, where do you want to go for dinner in Philadelphia for your birthday? And she picks one place every time, Park on Rittenhouse Square. And Park is, I don't know if you know this, top 50 non-corporate sales for the year. So the Park restaurant is like in the top 50 for dental production in the country. Okay. The consistency, the care, it's always the same. If you want to research something, treat yourself to a meal at Park. And they're busy, Steve. They got tourists. They got annoying people. It's a exquisite in how they make people feel, because everything matters, from the towels in the bathroom to the bread baskets. So I think what you're sharing is what, and you know what's interesting, and I want to go to your course in a second. Whether or not dentists thought they signed up for this, they actually signed up for it. So whether you're 10 years into your career saying, I never signed up to be like Danny Meyer from Shake Shack and care about that, well, this is what matters. And you have to figure out a way to be successful in your way. That's because I love that glass story.
yeah, well, there's a way out if you're not happy, is the bottom, another way of looking at this. If right now you're either in an associateship or you open to practice, you had the incredible courage that takes to do in 2024, and you don't like where you're at, there is a way out. This is not unique to me, that's for sure, or many other dentists. I'm not lucky. I just worked hard. I went at the beginning of this podcast, we talked about you can't be half in, you got to go all in. What's the worst that can happen? I say you work hard and you're going to get repaid for working hard, repaid in life. You know, there's no way you could follow the principles that I follow, even if you follow half of them, and not have a positive impact.
And there's no, that whole, one of the most brilliant commercials ever was the MasterCard. Tickets to the Philly game, $100, parking, $50, hot dogs, $20, time with your child, priceless. It is like totally the most brilliant type of marketing. I'm going to turn that on dentistry. Walking into your practice and feeling like you enjoy it more is better than making more money. Walking into that place that you put hours and hours of time into. Now, I just want to not shift gears, but I talk about you all the time on Zooms. I say to people, I taught 50 my first implant courses. I showed up 50 times in Delaware, New Jersey, and PA with Dr. Alex Cho, and we helped dentists place their first implant. It was fun, it was anxious, and I'm retired from it, right? And I said the biggest frustration was I'd have a course in PA and only PA dentists could come. And in Delaware, I don't know if you know Delaware, and I hope they hear this. Delaware's a state. If you don't like a rule in Delaware, you just erase it and you write in a new rule, Steve. So Delaware, I'm saying as a joke, I found out that if you teach a training course for dentists in Delaware, anyone with a U.S. license could come. But the problem was I had to find my friend's office. So I have retired from teaching my first implant course. I said, my friend Steve Rasner, what did you do? You authenticated your clinic, or what was the word you used where you can bring people from around the country with the New Jersey board? I mean, I'm so impressed by this. I'm sure it took a lot of work.
Listen, I went to the New Jersey board 8 years ago. I'll never forget it. I wrote to them first and said, I want to have a course where dentists can come and learn how to, bridge the gap from didactic to I would need that. I did need that.
Yeah.
I want to have a course like that. Can I do it? And the first course was extractions, by the way, extractions and grafting. And they said they made an appointment, not right away, months later. And I went, and they didn't give it to me right away. It was very intimidating. I felt like I was going to get in trouble, get penalized, get fined for even asking. It was very, very, very scary.
I love that's the word. I want to help someone. Well, now I'm concerned I'm going to get in trouble for wanting to help someone.
I'm not kidding. I remember, I think, am I in trouble here?
Yeah.
And so about 9 months later, they granted me permission, and A year after that, I opened a course up to implants, and flash forward years later, I got this
I mean, I
amazing
went down to that great restaurant. What's that restaurant called with the great
in
food?
Maplewood and
Yeah, you may
Vineland.
put. I mean, so some people you have are well known for transforming these dentist lives, the Rasner Institute, and
Yeah,
they're your patients, and you get so now. Every dentist watching, if I say, "Do you want to take hands-on endo courses?" They go, "How soon can I take it?" Okay, how soon? I'll miss my kid's birthday party to do it, right?
right,
Oh, you could do a full arch implant case. You have to fly to California. I'm on the next plane, right? So it
right.
is well documented that dentists, I talk about your dental core, your clinical skills, your communication skills, your mind skills, your heart skills. So we know that dentists are totally bought into the types of courses that you teach, and there's good reason to do that. But you're coming up with
Yeah,
what you do outside the operatory to make your magic happen inside the operatory, the business stuff, the leadership stuff.
right.
Tell our audience what you've come up with your, and what are you calling it, to teach them the non-clinical stuff to make their clinical stuff happen.
Well, I've had a podcast since 2018 called Lionhearted. And I call it Lionhearted because I think you need the heart of a lion in dentistry and probably other professions to succeed. You just do. You got to be courageous, sometimes fearless. Sometimes lions are scared too, I'm sure. You got to do all these things. You got to persevere. That's
Yeah.
what I came up with the name of the podcast. And I thought after I did it year after year, I started talking about, hey, we ought to get together live one time. And long story short, I finally went for it. And I want you to know, Paul, and I don't know if I should even say this, but I'm going to say it.
You say it.
I struggled with it for a year or two. Do I really want to do this? Because putting a course together is not like something you do in one weekend, you
Yeah.
know? And I need everybody that I ever pays any money for something I've done to absolutely feel incredible value when you walk out that door.
Yeah.
I know that's what I have with my implant courses. I can tell by the emails I get back. I can tell by the conversations I have with the several hundred guys that have gone through the institute at this point. And I need the same in a business course. And so I could tell from talking to the doctors that would come through. And by the way, many of them are remarkably young. I'm talking about guys in their early 30s, even late 20s, taking courses, even right out of school. And I could tell they needed help with, well, I know I'm getting good at this, but how do I get more cases? And how do you have this fee for service practice?
Yeah.
Because the course is in my practice, you know. And so I combine that with what feedback I got from my Lionhearted podcast. And I said, I'm going to go for it. I gnawed at me and I said, I'm just going to do it. And I'm telling you something, I have put a lot of work into this course to teach the following, to share the following.
Yeah.
Like, to me, case acceptance is probably the biggest thing I could ever bring to you. If I could dramatically impact when you do when you walk into that room with that new patient for the first time, and I can get you really comfortable and make the outcome, no tricks, no hard selling. I'm not about that, you know, and give
And
you the,
I want to interject from your podcast, Stephen. I said this, and I've just developed it. I get asked a lot of questions because of the Dental Nachos group. So they
yeah,
say, how do I retire sooner? How do I grow my practice? How do I become a practice owner? How do I get my team to like me? How do I market? I say the answer to all of that is case acceptance. The answer is case acceptance. I don't care what the question is because everything in dentistry comes to that. You want to take vacation? Case acceptance. Oh, you want to retire earlier? Case acceptance. They think there's this other thing, and there is no other thing. Case acceptance is the thing. It's you sitting across from a person who doesn't want to do it, who doesn't want to pay for it, who's scared to be there,
yeah,
moving them forward, like from Seller's Humans, Daniel Ping. So these dentists work on learning how to do clear aligners, can't get a patient to do a single crown, and it's a mismatch. And they don't do it with bad intentions. I like these dentists, but I was like, why are you doing this, right? Why are you learning how to do clear aligners when you have struggle to get a dentist to see the benefit in two crown?
right.
Me
Well, along with
is
that, go ahead, Paul. How many
no,
talk?
no, I like that. You said case acceptance is sort of one of the leading reasons you're doing this.
Yeah, well, what if I can make somebody, and I know I can because I've done it many times. You got to remember, early in my career, that is all I talked about. It's an interesting circle because when I was out there on the road from 1998 for 20 years, I was talking about practice management principles. But every time I heard myself talk, I heard myself say clinical excellence will take you further than any practice management gem I could ever give you. So because of that, that was what was the birth of the Rasner Institute, the clinical portion. So I said, I better start teaching that. And I went to the board and everything else, and it worked out. Leap and the net will appear. But going back to this, I will tell you that I forgot my train of thought. What were we talking?
Well, we were just basically going, the people who want to come to this and learn from you, you're outside the operatory training, your business training, your leadership training, they're going to get case acceptance. They're going to bring team members because it's key that their team comes with them.
Right.
What are some of the other benefits that someone sitting at this 2-day Rasner experience are going to get?
Well, it's one thing for me to sit there in front of you in a lovely room and tell you how to do it. It's another level, which it's going to happen. For me, that's why I insist you can't take this course alone. You'll waste your money, so don't even sign up. You know, if you have to bring, whether it's one key member or two, I let them bring up to 3. I need them to be on board. I need to talk to them as well. And I have staff members with me that are also going to teach the staff member. And when I say teach, we're really good at whether a person gets it or not. And they have to get it. They have to be comfortable communicating, because one of the things that I do, I didn't really say to you earlier about how I arrived at this gigantic $4 million a year practice, is I do believe in a comprehensive care approach. And that word comprehensive care is like a turnoff to a lot of people. I'm going to give them an approach that makes you very comfortable. Not everybody has to replace every tooth. Not everybody has to go through ortho. Not everybody has to even get little chips that aren't decayed addressed. The magic is figuring out the relationship, having a relationship-based practice the first time you meet the patient, right? Because they feel connected to you. I mean it. I don't walk into a room where I don't feel a connection the first time. I already feel the connection. Do all of them say yes? No. But enough of them say yes because of me, because of the team that saw them before me, because the language is right. And I know that is essential that I'm able to deliver that to somebody that comes to my course in 2 days. It's everything. As you said, if there was nothing else you got from it other than case acceptance, you have to get one more. You have to be able to have your team like you and be a good leader. So there's at least 2 you have to have.
I love those 2 things. And, I love talking about analogies and things like comprehensive care is a term for dentists, right? So if you say to a dentist, do you want to deliver comprehensive care and the patient sitting over here? I will turn here and say, would it be cool if I shared with you all the things that could prevent you from chewing the way you want to chew? Because I love chewing. What could I share with you that? You got to transform it, right? And you're right. Comprehensive care is a turnoff. It's like calisthenics. Calisthenics is making a comeback, by the way. But remember when the gym teacher said we're going to do calisthenics?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do that. The gym teacher just said, do you want to do things to perform better on the basketball court? Oh, yeah, I want to do that. Same calisthenics, right? So it's the same thing. So I love this. I want to share, you've shared so much value with our audience. My team is going to share all about your business course coming up, your leadership course coming up, the Rasner Institute. You've been kind enough to give us some special Nacho pricing. My grandmother Baba was right, Steve. I am special. So for being special, you're going to give us some special pricing. I just want you to share in our kind of our last thing here. If someone wanted to learn something about you and just said, this was interesting, I want to check out this Stephen Rasner guy, where's the one place for them to go? Website.
RasnerInstitute.com.
RasnerInstitute.com. Go there, check it out. I want to thank you for being my mentor. We're doing so many great things together and super excited for this next one. Thanks so much, Steve.
Mad respect. Thank you.